Okay, so today we're starting our shape and measurement unit, and the first thing we're going to look at is Pythagoras' theorem. So that is this rule here where we say c squared. Now, some people might remember use the c as the h. Why might we call this side h? Because this side is opposite. Why would I might call it h? I heard someone say that. Hypotenuse, good. So that side is called the hypotenuse. So it doesn't matter. You can, sometimes we just call it c. Okay. So the hypotenuse is always opposite that right angle. So see, if you're told you've got a right angle, the hypotenuse or the c, the side you're going to label c, will always be opposite that. Okay, so Pythagoras' theorem, which is this rule here, which I'll write underneath, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, it can only be used on a right angle triangle. So you have to know it's a right angle. And once you know it's a right angle, you can label the angle, you can label it as it is. So c will be the hypotenuse, and it doesn't matter what you label the other two sides, which one's A, which one's B, but they become A and B. So that's the way you're going to go about the questions. So if you have a look down here, it says find the value to correct to 2 decimal places of the unknown. So over here is the unknown. They've labelled it X. And then you've got the other two sides. So what you're going to do when you're going to work it out is the very first thing is you will label your triangle. So because this side is opposite, I'm going to call it C, and it doesn't matter, I'll call 1A and 1B. So what you're going to do is you're going to write out, you're going to go, yes, I'm using Pythagoras' theorem. So I'll write out his rule. And then what I'm going to do is substitute in what the actual question says. So it's not C, they're calling it X. So I'm going to call it X squared. And A is actually 6.1 squared. And B is actually 5.3. So I'll do that. Now, you don't have to, because you've got your graphics calculator, you don't have to go and rearrange and work it out. All you have to do in your calculator is you can use the solve function. So how do we get solve? Who remembers? Good. So we can go menu 3(1), we'll get solve. You type out exactly what you've written there. So you write x squared equals, and then what do I need to put after that? Comma x, because I want to know what x is. Now, you'll get an answer like x equals 8.080 da 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 da. But because it said correct to 2 decimal places, we'll go x equals 8.08, and it was centimetres, and then we'll put a box around our final answer. Now remember too, with the rule, you have to have the same units. So what do I mean by that? See here, these are both in centimetres. That's good. If one was different, you have to change them to be in the same units. Okay, so let's go and do this next one down here. Sorry, I'm just making a little bit of room. Okay, so if you have a look, find the value, correct to 2 decimal places of the unknown. So the unknown is here. So the very first thing we're going to do is label our triangle. So which side here is the hypotenuse? Which one am I going to label C? Excellent. This one is C because it is opposite that right angle there. Okay, now I'm going to label A and B. Now, because we have our graphics calculators, we still do the same steps. So write the rule first. So the examiner knows that you know which rule to use. Then substitute in. So C for me is 8.6. A is 5.6 squared, and B is y squared. Now when I'm going to still use solve, because it doesn't matter, except now I want to know what y is. So let's go do that on our, I'm going to pause the video, Go do it on your calculators and make sure you can do it. Okay, so we did that on our calculator and we got that. You'll see that you get y equals, we got two numbers. Or we had y equals 526. All right, because we are talking about an actual triangle, we're not going to use the negative, we'll use the positive one. And because it said 2 decimal places up here, we are going to say our final answer is 6.5. Now, because that was a 6, that goes up to a 3. All right. So we're going to move to the next example here. Now, boys, often it can help if you draw a diagram, even if they don't ask you. If you draw a diagram, you will find it a lot easier. So it says find the area of a square with a diagonal length of that. So if I draw a square, what do we know about the sides of a square? They're all the same. Now at the moment, I don't know what that side length is, but these would all be x. They're all the same. Now, if I draw in the diagonal, what that means is this. They said that the diagonal has a length of 6 square root 2. Doesn't matter, we've got a third in there. I'll show you how to do it on the calculator. Now, it's asking me to find the area. How do you find area of a square? Length times width. So for this one, would it be x times x? Because it's a square? Alright, so this means we need to find x so we can get the area. So if I look over here, I'm going to see that I can get a right angle triangle. So can you see inside that square, I have a right angle triangle. So I'm going to use my Pythagoras. So this is C, this is A and B. So I'm going to say 6 square root 2 squared equals x squared plus x squared. Now because there's only one thing I don't know what it is in that equation, there's only x, your solve can work it out for you. So into the calculator, solve, you're going to put this little bracket as well so that you square it all. Then you're going to write x squared plus x squared and then comma x, and you're going to find out what x is. So we've found that x equals 6. So therefore, what would the area be? Area equals x squared. So area equals 6 squared, which is 36. Okay, so there's your final answer. With this one here down below, I'm just going to go through it with you, but it's actually got the working out there, but let's have a look. So a circle, so here when it says I've got a circle, so here's the circle, and it says it has a chord AB of length 10 centimetres. A chord means it goes from one side of the circle to the other, but it's not necessarily the diameter. Yes? It doesn't mean, because that's not the diameter down there, is it? No. If the radius of the circle is 13 centimetres. Now remember, the radius is always from the centre out to the edge. So you just got told that that is, from there to there, is 13 centimetres. Okay? Find the shortest distance. So they want you to find the shortest distance from the chord to O. So the actual question they want is this little distance in here, from the chord to O. So can you see what they've done is, if I said the radius is from the centre of the circle out to the edge, is from O to A a radius? Do you think from here to here is a radius? It is. Good. So can you see, I'm going to draw out this little triangle separate here. If I draw that, that's O and that's A. Now, I'm going to draw the blue bit just up to that center bit. So down here is X. That's the question. They want that. Okay, so I can see I've got a right angle triangle. Now, you know the radius is 13. And you also know the chord is 10 centimeters. So from here to here is 10. If I'm cutting exactly half of it, what does that make that? 5. Good. So can you see I can work out now what, oh sorry, I'll rub that out, that's a bit messy. I can work out now what X is using this triangle down here. So if I label it up, this would be C, this would be A and B. So off I go, and you can see I would write 13, or C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So 13 squared equals X squared plus 5 squared. And then we can use our solve, comma X, and we'll end up with, now it said to the nearest centimetre. So X equals, okay, so sorry, this working out here, oh, actually, I tell a lie. That is the working out for this question here underneath. Okay, this is the working out for this one. Awesome. All right, so let's go find out what X is. We'll do solve in our calculator for this one down here. What did it end up equaling? So we got X to be positive 12. So this number is 12 here. I'm not going to go through this diagonal because it's got it working out, but I will draw the diagram. You have a soccer field and it's 130 meters long, and the diagonal was 130 meters long. So when you go across there, that's 130 meters. The long side of the ground measures 100, so this side is 100. Find the shortest side, so you can see they're finding that. So for us, we would have put Pythag, and we would have said 130 squared equals X squared plus 100 squared, and then you guys would do solve, comma X, and you'll get X to equal 83. Okay, so I'm going to look at these examples. Questions. So a right angle triangle. So once we see that it is a right angle triangle, we know we can use things like Pythagoras' rule. Now, when it says has a side length xy, that means just between the x and the y, and you can see they've drawn a diagram for you, is 38.5, and then we've seen that yz, so between y and z, is that, as shown. So the length of, so the question is xz, so down here is our question, but if we label it up, we will see that that is actually our hypotenuse. So you can go about like we did, write the rule out, substitute the values, so we don't know what c squared is this time, so 38.5 squared plus 24.0 squared. We can then use solve in our calculator, and don't forget the comma x, and we do that and we get the answer. Okay, so on the calculator I end up with x is 45.4, so we can see the answer. Okay, I'm actually going to leave this question here until our next lesson. So I'll leave that, will be in the next lesson. I'll do that one on the next video. But let's do this bottom triangle down here. So if you can have the in triangle AB, the length CB is. So they want me to know this. Now, you can see that it is an isosceles triangle, so that side is the same as that side. So if I actually found out this length here, it would be the same as that length there, between here and here. So if I find out what x is and I double it, I'll know what the length of CB. So what I'm saying is CB is equal to 2 x's. So let's go, but what I'm going to use is the right angle triangle I can see, which I can see is 14, 8, and x. So if I label up my triangle, that would be C, A, B. So I'd say C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So I have 14 squared equals 8 squared plus x squared, and I'll do solve, and a comma x, and we'll get what x equals. Okay, so I get x to equal about 11.5, therefore CB equals 2 times 11.5, so CB equals 23.